Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this video, I'm just going to kind of continue where we left off last time, having gotten our game class set up and our first screen set up, and also setting our first screen to that new splash screen object that we made. Um, and I think in this time, or in this video, I'm just going to explain how to get your first stage set up. And what the stage is good for is you can kind of think of Scene2D, as most people probably describe it as a play analogy. So you can think of a screen to be sort of a theater that you'll have a stage, and on that stage we'll have actors, and the stage will coordinate those actors and orchestrate them to do particular things, and that's where your game mechanics will be involved, and um, it'll also be your UI elements and whatnot, and so that's just kind of another way to see it, how the design is set up. So what I really want to get across in this video is just getting our stage set up and simple things we need to get started with, kind of continuing having gotten these two classes all pre-configured. So first things first, let's get our stage, our first stage for our splash screen to work with. So just import the bad logic Scene2D stage class, and then this dot stage equals stage, or I'm sorry, new stage. And I'm going to leave this blank for now, but what this parameter can ask for is a particular kind of viewport type, and that will help you along the way with getting different, like handling different screen ratios and stuff, or such as like when you're working with Android, how many different kind of phones screen resolutions there are out in the world, or anytime someone resizes your app in some way. I want that to be a separate topic that I'll touch back on. So for now, we're just going to leave it empty because we're not even putting actors in just yet. Another thing that you're going to want to do is apply the stage as an input processor. So to do that, you just call gdx.input.setInputProcessor. Now, the reason you have to do this is because when you start adding actors into your stage and stuff for like buttons and player interaction and whatnot, you're allowing it to accept input events. And with that, the stage will delegate all those events downwards to all the actors that it has contained inside of itself. That way you can easily keep track of who or how these actors are receiving these input events, whether or not they were interacted with through touch or keyboard events, and all that good stuff. So don't forget to call that if you want your actors to be influenced or interacted with in some way. So next thing, I want to kind of just get an update method. I really can't stress this enough, how much like how careful you need to be about mixing your logic and render code together. So I always like to just go right off the bat, separate it all so no confusion can come from it. Update, float, delta. Always good to pass that delta value so you can use it to manage the way actors receive their updates. So they're modified by the time rather than just by frames per second. So you don't experience any weird lag on slower computers and whatnot. So the next thing, after having made that update method, in that update method, you're going to want to call stage.act, and you're going to want to pass it that delta value so you can work with it when you start adding actors and stuff and influencing their position and velocities and whatnot. And what this stage.act does is it'll call the act method of any actor that is added to the stage. So same thing goes for this next method I'm about to introduce, the stage.draw. It'll call the draw method in a specific order for every actor that it has contained in itself as well. So with that, I'm going to kind of leave the stage where it is right here. We don't really have any actors we want to mess with, so we don't need to get too complex with how this stuff is being done just yet. But what I would like to do is just kind of get some debug text on the screen, and I think the best way to do that, as always, is to get a bitmap font. And we're just going to make this public so we can call it from our screen as we've done with like the batch and the camera. And to just set it up, we're going to do new bitmap font done. There are parameters in here that you can choose to set the size and the font type. However, we're just going to leave it as the default, which I believe is Arial and size 16 font. So let's go back to our splash screen real quick, and we're just going to go down below the stage.draw method, and what we're going to do is trigger our batch to begin collecting some rendering output. So begin, and then app.font.draw with our app.batch, and because this is a splash screen, I'm just gonna say splash screen, and I'm gonna set that to 120. Oh, hate that touch or trackpad. 120, 120. So just kind of throw it out close towards the center of the screen. And then we're going to flush that batch to the GPU by calling app.batch.end. So anytime you want to render stuff with your batch, it needs to be between a batch.begin and a batch.end. And that's because when you call it begin, it readies a pooling of things to be rendered to the screen, and then when you call batch.end, it does what's called a flush to the GPU and sends all that data to be rendered to the screen, all the image data, to the GPU of the computer. And of course, it's not good to call this like a whole bunch of times. You want to do it the least amount of times as possible. So be smart about where you're or how you're drawing things as well. It's very, very important. It's to keep your game efficient and whatnot. So with what we got so far, let's run it one more time, and we should get the very simple output of it saying splash screen on our screen. And perfect, that's what we're going for. So we can kind of stretch it out and stuff, and as I said, we'll be handling these viewport issues soon enough. That'll be a separate video. But with that, I think next time I'm going to cover getting our first image set up, and that's going to be part of the Scene2D.UI package. So with that, hope you enjoyed the video so far. Like, comment, subscribe as usual, and see you next time.